You may have heard of Google Scholar and wondered exactly what it is and what it does. It looks like a standard Google search engine, but we can see underneath there's a ability to choose between articles and case law. We're going to focus on articles today. Um, if you are studying to be a lawyer, then the case law aspect might be of interest to you. But we're going to focus on things that essentially would be of interest to someone in an English classroom and seeing the difference between a standard Google search and Google Scholar. All right, so we're going to start with just a regular Google search. We type in Macbeth gender roles. Now, it tells us right away, hey, maybe you're interested in some scholarly articles for Macbeth because that sounds like something that you'd be able to get information from on Google Scholar. So in fact, if we click on this first one, it does take us to Google Scholar. So Google in general is set up in a way that is kind of searching for what most people would want to know. All right. And so if we go underneath this opening Scholar link, we see Cliff's Notes, study.com. We see that someone's created a Prezi about gender roles. There's a Schmoop article about Macbeth and gender. So these are things that are going to give you information absolutely on the topic. But if you're really looking at diving into that topic, then you want to go to Google Scholar. And so if we go to Google Scholar and type in Macbeth gender roles, we get a variety of articles. And we see, right, the nice thing about the way Google Scholar is set up, you're going to notice right away, it looks a bit different. It tells you underneath how often it's been cited, and it also gives you the source. So we can see that this article is from College Literature. This is something we can find on Google Books. Uh, this is an article from a book called Shakespeare Left and Right. And we continue to scroll down. There's one from Journal of Evolutionary Psychology, Cambridge Opera Journal for an opera version of Macbeth. So this is going to give you really more insightful articles that are going to dig deeper into that topic. Kind of if you want somebody else to kind of give you a filtered, kind of simplified version of the topic, then you're fine just sticking with the types of information you'd find on study.com or Cliff's Notes. But if you really want to see what scholars have done, kind of a close look they've taken at this subject from a variety of different sources over the years, you can see the year here as well, 2009. Here's one from 2016. So the year is also obviously going to influence the type of information you get. Okay, we're going to take a look at another one. We'll close these out. And Roberto Bolano is one of the most prominent novelists of the late 20th century. And many of his books were published posthumously. And there's been a lot written about him. If we just type Roberto Bolano into Google, though, you get the Wikipedia article. There are a couple videos about Roberto Bolano. We see Encyclopedia Britannica. We see an article from New Yorker, which might be good information. Again, if you don't know anything about him. Goodreads, if you wanted to find out about his books. There's nothing wrong with this first page. And the issue here, though, is that there's not any scholarly articles about Roberto Bolano. There's nothing that's going to analyze or offer literary criticism about his books and about giving you kind of the larger context and meaning about what is going on in his writing. So if we go to Google Scholar, we type in Roberto Bolano, and again, we're going to see that this is quite a bit different. We have some books. You notice this is a Spanish language author, so some of these things that come up are going to be in Spanish. But here we get something called Sovereignty and Melancholic Paralysis in Roberto Bolano. Um, uh, let's go ahead to the second page. Critical essays, a book of critical essays about Roberto Bolano. The aesthetics of annihilation in Roberto Bolano's narrative. And you really get a sense of Roberto Bolano, portrait of the writer as a noble savage. This one's from The World Literature Today. These are all scholarly journals. These are all things that the authors had to submit and have peer reviewed and get published. So it's you're getting really good insights into Roberto Bolano, and you're likely getting an original interpretation about his work rather than just sort of kind of the general consensus. So it's more about that kind of really looking inside the author's work rather than just kind of getting some biographical information, some basics about his book. So this is what Google Scholar does. It really gives you a great ability to have access to, essentially, these are articles you would find if you went to a college library and started searching there. I do want to point out on the side, we can sort by relevance. We can sort by date on the Roberto Bolano articles. We can look for specific things if we want only things from since 2020 or since 2019. Here's an article, very recent article called Visual Devices in Roberto Bolano's Stories. So Google Scholar is a great way to avoid the answers everyone is looking for and to find the answers that you are looking for.